We're back with our roundtable. We're going to get to sports news now. As the big announcement this week from Jason Collins coming out as gay, the first time that's happened in the four major sports for that to happen. And I'm joined now by Brendon Ayanbadejo from the world champion Baltimore Ravens, who joins us, who's been really outspoken about this. And Brendon, it's great to have you here. Why, in your judgment, was this a big deal? And is just this the start in sports, basketball, football, baseball, hockey?
Well, it's a big deal because really America's calling for it. You can still be fired in 30 states for being a part of the LGBT community. So for someone to step up and show that society is changing and society is calling for equality and people are going to go out there and express themselves, especially in one of the four major sports, which has never been done before, it's really a show of the changing of the tides and what's to come in the future.
You, I know, follow the Supreme Court arguments. You know about the political fight of this. And the other side of this, the other side of all the celebration from the president calling him to Mrs. Obama tweeting to others saying this is such an important step, is very real and sustained opposition to gay marriage in many parts of the country, in many states. So this may be a big moment, and yet the political fight still goes on.
Yeah, well, you know, politically, we're still fighting to change a lot of things to be accepted federally and to gain marriage equality in the other 40 states. But socially, it's a change of the times, and people have to realize that even though it's your right to have religion and to really, you can't use that right of religion to take other people's rights away. Equality trumps all of them, and we protect and we believe in religion, but we just don't feel that religion should be calling out the LGBT community. So we just need to open up people's eyes and educate people a little bit more.
Brendon, you wrote this week very powerfully about the fact that lesbians have come out in pro sports, have not gotten this kind of attention. Why do you think? Why is this so much different?
I think it's just a little bit harder to break the lines in men's sport. People have this idea of what gayness is, and my good friend Ezra Tuolo is a 300-pound physical defensive lineman in football, and people think that gayness has something to do with femininity, when really we just need to erase that stereotypes from our minds, because LGBT people come in all different types and shapes and forms. So I think that's really what we're fighting. But the beautiful thing about what Brittany Griner did is that it barely made a splash, and that's what we're trying to do in men's sports. When people announce that they're gay, we don't even want it to change the climate or anything in sports. We just want everybody to be accepted, and people can go out there and they can love who they want to love and be who they are, so they can not only be better people, but they can also be better athletes.
Finally, you think some players in the NFL will come out as soon as this next year?
I don't know when it's going to happen, but as an ally, and I work closely with Athlete Ally, and myself and Dante Stallworth, Chris Cluey, Scott Fajita, we work so hard and diligently, so when an athlete does come out, they'll have a nice supporting group around them, and it'll be a safe, inclusive environment.
Brendon Ayanbadejo, thank you so much for being here this morning. We really appreciate your perspective. Thanks for joining us. Let me get back to the roundtable. Rich Lowry, as I say, the other side to this very big moment in sports and society is the political fight that is still moving on, and there is still a great deal of opposition as the Supreme Court sits with this issue of marriage equality.
Yeah, no, look, this is a sign that social attitudes are changing. This wouldn't have been celebrated the way it has been 30 or 40 years ago. I mean, you got a call immediately from Oprah and the President of the United States, right? You can't get more social affirmation than that. But it also feels as though it shouldn't be a big deal, really. But one of the reasons it is I don't know whether you followed any of the back and forth between the Knicks and the Celtics players during their series, but the culture of Major League sports and the NBA is at about a 7th or 8th grade level, and I think that's one of the reasons this is such a big deal.
You know, Joy Reid, one of the issues politically, you think about Prop 8 in California, was the Mormon community, the African-American community that were most strongly against this. African-American clergy speaking out in the debate over same-sex marriage and gay adoption in Illinois. Again, it goes to the point that societal views are changing, but our politics are changing very slowly around this.
Well, actually, I think they're changing really quickly. I mean, I think that the LGBT community has shown the power of the grassroots to be that additional component to political organizing. You know, you wouldn't have had such a rapid sea change on things like Don't Ask, Don't Tell had it just been left up to the Congress and the president. You've seen the grassroots actually move the debate forward and move society forward. And look, there's also the reverse effect. President Obama coming out in favor of the rights of gay people to marry actually moved move public opinion within the African-American community. There is not blanket opposition to gay rights within the black community. There are prominent pastors. Our colleague, Reverend Al Sharpton, has been one of the most outspoken. There are plenty of black clergy who actually are in support of LGBT rights, and I think that the president moving has helped that. But I also think that the gay community itself, the gay rights community, has been very aggressive, has been very tactile, and been very smart in moving forward their civil rights.
Newt Gingrich, do you think, I haven't heard you say whether you think a Republican nominee for president can support gay marriage?
I think that's up. I doubt it, but I think that's up in the air, because I do think things are changing. But what I'm struck with is the one-sidedness of the desire for rights. There are no rights for Catholics to have adoption services in Massachusetts. They're outlawed. There are no rights in D.C. for Catholics to have adoption service. They're outlawed. This passing reference to religion, we sort of respect religion. Sure, as long as you don't practice it. I mean, I think it would be good to have a debate over, beyond this question of are you able to be gay in America, what does it mean? Does it mean that you have to actually affirmatively eliminate any institution which does not automatically accept that, and therefore you're now going to have a secular state say to a wide range of religious groups, Catholics, Protestants, Orthodox Jews, Mormons, frankly, Muslims, you cannot practice your religion the way you believe it, and we will outlaw your institutions. And this, by the way...
Which prohibitions are you speaking of?
Well, let's just start with adoption services. It is impossible for the Catholic Church to have an adoption service in Massachusetts that follows Catholic doctrine.
But didn't the Catholic Church, particularly Catholic Charities in Boston, they affirmatively decided to withdraw adoption services? No one said they are not allowed to provide adoption services.
No, they withdrew them because they were told you could not follow Catholic doctrine, which is for marriage between a man and a woman.
I think the point is that you don't have the state attempting to tell religions what to believe. People, if they oppose the idea of gay marriage within their religion, have absolute right to do so. The question is whether or not religious institutions can make public policy, whether they can enter the public policy sphere.
Does that apply to religious institutions that don't want to have moral objections to contraception and don't want to pay for it?
If you're running a pharmacy that the public is allowed to use, it's the same issue if you had a religious objection to interracial to people eating in your restaurant, let's say. It's my religious objection to have black people eat in my restaurant. So the Catholic
Church's opposition to contraception is on the same moral level as racial discrimination?
I'm not putting it on the same moral level. I'm saying that would you have the right to discriminate based on your religious beliefs? A lot of people used to say that was their reason. What I'm saying is that people have a right to their religious beliefs, but there is a question of public policy.
Except for when you think public policy should trump it.
But who makes public policy? The state or the church? If the church is going to make our public policy, then are we any longer a secular state?
Harold, your general comments on the general impact of Jason Collins this week.
Look, people should be able to marry whom they want to marry. I'm a believer that I'm a Christian, everything that God touches is perfect. So if someone has a different sexual orientation than me or preference for marriage, bless their hearts. The fact that we're sitting here debating this still, I do think this is a different topic around religious freedoms, and perhaps that conversation needs to take place outside of this context. But bless the boy's heart, and he's able to pursue what he wants to pursue, and hopefully more people in sports in these masculine enclaves will make this even more acceptable.
I've just got about a minute and a half left, but I want to inject something that Richie wrote about on the social issue topic about abortion this week. The Gosnell trial getting a lot of attention. I'm going to put it up on the screen. We're not going to have a lot of time to react to it, but I want to put it on the record here. You write this: the unwritten rule is that when the left discusses abortion, it's never called abortion, but always referred to as health, or more specifically reproductive health. Although abortion is the opposite of reproduction, and for one party involved, the opposite of health. The trial of Philadelphia abortionist Kermit Gosnell has been an exercise in stripping away euphemism. He's accused of murdering babies because he allegedly didn't manage to kill them in the womb and had to finish the job outside the womb. His case is so discomforting for liberals, not only because it is a stark picture of the seeming money-grubbing side of abortion, but because it illustrates how slight the difference is between late-term abortion or late-term health and what nearly everyone recognizes as a crime. The left, Planned Parenthood, says he's a complete outlier, but yours is a broader point.
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, there is just a matter of logic. If doing it outside the womb, if collapsing the skull, snipping the spine, and all the rest of it is wrong, why is it okay inside the womb? And I think that's a very difficult question for pro-choice people to grapple with. And I just was struck by President Obama goes to Planned Parenthood, the first sitting president to address Planned Parenthood, and doesn't mention the word abortion. Why doesn't he hail them for their clinics and their affiliates performing more than 300,000 abortions a year, if it's such a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
They're ashamed to say frankly what they do.
Joy, 30 seconds.
The Planned Parenthood does a lot more than abortion. I mean, before I had a job that paid me health insurance, Planned Parenthood is where I got my health care, everything from just general health care, and I wasn't going there to get abortions. I was going there to get health care. So Planned Parenthood is not simply an abortion.
Right, but it does do abortions, and the president never acknowledged it.
There are doctors and clinics that do it too, so that is not the only thing they do. And the second thing is, look, Gosnell is not something that should outrage liberals. It's something that should outrage anyone. General abortion services are not performed. He was performing these in late term, and I don't think that any rational or thinking human being or feeling human being thinks that that's okay, whether it's in the womb or out. This was also a case of impoverished women who were going to a place for supposed health care that shouldn't have even been open, that wasn't being inspected, where the laws in that state were not being followed. Where were the inspections to make sure that these services were even being provided in a sanitary facility? Just because these women had no money doesn't mean they didn't deserve to be protected.
All right, I'm out of time for this segment. We've got to take a break. Come right back into this.